a meaningful storyline that was enacted through performers and a collection of dancers that then erupted into kind of kicking off the dance floor. And so this is kind of lengths we'll go to.
Yeah,
to
this
set
is
the scene.
good.
You know, it was like
great. Yeah.
You're listening to the Occupational Philosophers with Simon Banks and John Rice.
Hello and welcome to the Occupational Philosophers, a not-so-serious business podcast which blends curiosity, creativity, imagination, play. Always we try to throw a little bit of philosophy into the mix as well. As ever, I'm joined by my co-host in Australia, Simon Banks. Simon Banks, I hope you're well. What's caught your eye this week?
John, well, a little bit more serious than some of my normal pieces I run at, but this is a post from a guy called Stephen Klein. The Revenge of the Poet. For 40 years, we've told a generation the liberal arts were useless. We were told that creativity and imagination were esoteric, a luxury, a waste of time. STEM, baby. Philosophy, a luxury. English, unemployable. History, a hobby. Poetry, could there be anything more useless? The real degrees, we said, were the ones with code and spreadsheets at the end. The ones that produced outputs. The ones that fit the funnel. The ones a parent could explain at dinner without flinching. A whole generation got the message. They abandoned the humanities in droves. Departments closed, tenure lines vanished, universities quietly pivoted to career outcomes. Entire libraries of human thought got reframed as boutique nostalgia for people who didn't have to worry about rent. And then we built a machine that does the code and the spreadsheets for free. Read that again. The machine does instantly and at zero marginal cost the exact thing we spent 40 years telling young people was the only thing worth learning. And it goes on, but isn't that a bit like, it goes on in defense of the arts and why the humanities are more important than ever and all these different things around telling us how to think. But I thought, wow, isn't that all 40 years of doing something a certain way and then all the stuff we talk about? This guy is now saying, yeah, and he's Stephen Klein, founder and CEO of Curiosa.ai, a Berkeley instructor, very big in the AI field. So that was his take.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
Yeah, I did catch sight of that, and I did ponder the fact that we're in the ascendant, Simon.
Cool, finally.
It is our time. And also I think there's something where he says we've been obsessed by getting an answer rather than being obsessed by asking the right questions.
Yeah.
And there was something in that, obviously, that appealed to me with that idea of that's what philosophy brings, the ability to think and frame the right question. So, yeah, I like that. But, yeah, that's a very profound starting insight to this show, isn't it?
My graffiti in the Pompeii alley of last week. So what's got your curious eye?
Well, maybe there's a slight segue there, but I was caught by the fact that my nephew was recently applying for some jobs. He's trying to get his foot on the ladder, as it were. And he was telling me about the process that he's been sort of in as he's been going for these different jobs. So first of all, his CV, as it were, is screened by AI now. So there's no human contact, just goes in and it's a yay or a nay with the computer says yes or no. And then those that get through, they whittle down to video interviews, but they're not as this is, where you can see each other like on a Zoom thing and go, hey, tell me about yourself. It is a question is asked and then you record a video of you talking to camera. Again, no human contact whatsoever. And at the end of it, yes or no, did you get through or whatever. So there is just minimal information, minimal feedback and this thing. Now, I don't remember this. I just remember going for interviews. So that is the final phase. As he got to the interview and I said, don't worry. And we practiced some interview questions and the like. And that was the first time he sat in front of a human. He got down to the last two and unfortunately he failed. And I said, what went wrong? And he said, well, they asked me, can you perform under pressure? I said, yeah. And he said, and I answered no, but I can do a pretty good Bohemian Rhapsody.
Boom, boom, John. I see what you did there. Yeah.
There was a long intro into a really, really poor pun and dad joke.
But, you're swimming in
But
your lane.
it made me laugh.
I like it. And for anyone under 50, you will not know that cultural reference here.
Anyway, Simon, we've got a guest episode. Who is the curious cat we have with us
Oh,
this
John,
week?
as always, very excited. Our guest designs immersive, transformative experiences that help organizations unlock connection, alignment, and meaning across their people. Our guest is also a social entrepreneur who left his corporate life at Google to create a life of meaning driven by his passions. Now, these passions are very interesting. An adventure to discover Burning Man in Australia changed his life. He had a vision for a sunset party, which led to the creation of what has become one of the largest gatherings at Burning Seed Festival, where thousands come to connect and dance every sunset to enjoy beautiful music played in sync with this beautiful time of day. In a deeply participatory event that transforms strangers into communities. There's also the founder of Xstatic Sunsets, where he spent 5 years producing Australia's largest wellness and sober events, creating spaces where thousands of people experience genuine restoration and community. In his current role, he sits at the intersection of well-being, purpose, and creative experience, bringing these together through Immersive 8, which is his creative event agency that designs immersive, transformative events for companies that want their people, staff, clients, and stakeholders to genuinely connect, not just attend. Now, if our guest was a window, and this is the exact name of our guest, he would offer simplistic styling for standard-sized windows. This Vallance boasts a gentle upward curve to the center of the window treatment and will look great in most rooms. The Vallance should and can be used with a 2.5 continental curtain rod or decorative rod. So,
what are you on about?
Well, that's what they call the Jasper Vallance in the world of windows. So please put your hands together for our guest, Jasper Vallance. Woo!
Wow, that's going to be one of the coolest introductions I've ever had. And you had me wondering at the end there, like, how did you come up with that?
I did it. I looked it up today. I was Googling you. And if the Jasper Vallance window dressing, which is your name, offers simplistic styling.
So this is is this an AI
No.
response?
This is when I was Googling your name today. Your same name is a style of window. And that is
Is it now? Well, I did not know that. I thought I was completely unique in the world. I thought it was the only Jasper Vallance, but as it turns out, there's a window.
And you also boast a gentle upward curve to your center.
Wow.
And you will look great in most rooms. So,
fantastic. Very
what's
adaptable.
caught your curious eye this week?
Well, there's a lot of excitement building for the reincarnation of Burning Seed that's taking place next weekend in a whole new location after a many-year hiatus because of COVID and political transitions, with it finally becoming a not-for-profit. And the theme is Cosmic Canyon. And if you're going to a burn, one of the things that's top of mind for you is your costumes.
Yeah.
In the spirit of radical self-expression. And I'm pleased to say Sunset, the camp that I started all those years ago, it still exists, even though I'm less active. I play a less active role. It was a tropical island theme. Now it's a Western theme. So you could be sure to expect that I will be in but the theme for the actual burn is Cosmic Canyon, because it's in Kapiti Valley, which is a beautiful valley, 3 hours from Sydney, and beautiful stars. So yeah, something maybe Space Cowboys inspiring me right now.
And is that heading west from Sydney? Would it be heading inland?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, literally, if you go through Lithgow on your way to Mudgee, Kapiti Valley is on your right. And you can't miss it, because you'll look out the window and go, wow, that is a stunningly beautiful valley. In fact, it's the second biggest canyon in the world, because it's so wide.
And just thinking, just to confirm this, Jasper, this is taking place next weekend.
Yes.
You're looking remarkably relaxed for someone who's got a massive festival happening next weekend.
Well, so the thing with the burn is that it's co-created, and I was kind of involved with a theme camp, but a burn is made up of many theme camps. And, Burning Seed was over 5,000 people at one point, 80 over 100 theme camps. This will be more like probably 20. It's going to be only 500 people. So it's a much smaller event. So building a relationship with a new landowner there. But yeah, I'm literally participating in the sense of maybe doing a ranger duty, which is walking around making sure people are safe, but part of the welcome committee where you give people a great big hug when they come in, and kind of, helping out with the sunset camp, which is a little a sunset stage. So I'm by no means organizing a whole festival. There's an incredible voluntary team that makes it all happen. And I think that what I love about Burns is that it is completely co-created. It's all voluntary.
And so if I get this correct, you're going to be wandering around as a cosmic cowboy being a ranger. So I like that works. Hey, you safe, y'all? Yeah. And that sort of stuff. And then this is a sister or brother event of Burning Man, which is over in Nevada, if I've got my radar right. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I think the thing people misunderstand about Burning Man is they think Nevada is Burning Man. And actually, Burning Man is just 10 principles.
Okay.
It's 10 values that a community will engage with. And that can happen anywhere in the world. So they're called regional burns, anything outside Nevada. But Australia actually has about 7 official regional burns.
Oh, okay.
You wouldn't, I mean, most people are surprised to hear there's Burning Man outside Nevada and Blazing Swans in the desert in Western Australia. Haven't been to that one yet, but you can go to Kiwi Burn. Africa Burn is just actually taking place as we speak. And, they're all of varying sizes. Nowhere is the biggest burn in Europe. I think that's about 5,000 people. That's in Spain. So, it's a global concept. And what I've loved is no matter where you go and people are engaging with those principles, it's just an incredible experience.
Right.
Jasper, so we've got listeners from all over the place. So where are you in the world today and what can you see out of your window?
Yeah, God, great question. I'm very lucky to live on the beautiful northern beaches, and I live near a place called Church Point, which would feel like a regional little village, not in Sydney, but in fact, it's about 50 minutes drive from the CBD of Sydney. And right now, and I'm lucky to live in what I call my treehouse, but it's really a glamorous granny flat on a hillside, surrounded by trees. I look over the Pittwater, which is sort of inlet behind the ocean near Palm Beach, and then over Newport, and then I can see the horizon of the ocean as well. So, I set the intention of living in nature. This was fortunately pre-COVID. And so, I had kind of had a very glorious COVID life living up here in nature with a national park on my doorstep. And as a keen cyclist, it's the best cycling in Sydney.
We're going to go straight into our dinner party round. And this was developed within the mindset of you go to dinner parties, networking events, they're a bit like you're trying to jam a conversation with someone and what do you do and all that type of stuff. So John and I thought, well, in the spirit of hosting parties, if we were hosting a dinner party, what might be some questions we might ask to spark a little bit more conversation? So, hey, Jasper, great to have been sat next to you. What's giving you joy at the moment?
Well, I would certainly say cycling is kind of my greatest passions. And for me, that's on a number of levels in terms of bringing joy. It's kind of that morning routine that gets me out of bed and could be with friends. And there's obviously the connection and the after ride coffee. But just, pedaling through nature and just appreciating kind of the world waking up and the wildlife coming to life and the sun rising. That's what brings me the ultimate joy and just always starts my day well. And that's just a wonderful routine. And it's always I know I often feel like getting up when it's dark and cold, but always glad I did.
And so that is daily you will get out on the bike pretty much, Jasper. And however early you've got to start, that you make that part of the thing you build in.
Yeah, it's about probably 5 days a week. Out of respect to my partner, I'm in bed on Saturday mornings. That's the rule. But I typically cycle, these 250k a week, 300ks. I'm one of those very committed mammals out there, annoying all the drivers and clocking around in cafes.
Jasper, here's the next question for you. Who or what inspires you right now?
I tell you what, there's a guy called Peter Sharp in Western Australia who leads a community called the Liberators. And he consistently on social media inspires me because what he does is these pop-up activations in public where it's like a pop-up dance party. It's a mobile DJ desk. And you have live music like saxophonists. You have a whole entourage of dancers, and they literally pop up in public places and engage people to come together for that party that kind of moves along the streets. And he does activations on trains, all shapes and sizes. And he's the guy who just constantly inspires me because I go, if I was going to do more of that social impact kind of event stuff or activations, I look at what he does and I go, God, that looks like so much fun. And I think there's something wonderful about that surprise element where members of the public are not expecting anything to happen and then find themselves in a dance party.
Is that like flash mob thing that was a big thing as well, wasn't it? You had these flash mob things that would start and it would surprise people with some coordinated dance of a group of people coming together. That kind of idea.
Well, but it's not choreographed, but it's a pop-up party, quite literally.
Okay.
And I think that's what's so cool about it, is that it's very spontaneous and engages people just randomly. And so encourages participation, I think, is the key. Whereas, when people are just doing their dance routine, you're there just videoing and taking photo, going, this is cool. But yeah, I think the idea is that it actively involves members of the public to come together, who are strangers and potentially would be I imagine making friends.
So this, I'm curious about this. Yeah. He'll have like himself, a bunch of musicians. He's on the DJ decks. They'll just bomb a place and start playing and encourage people to join in. Or will people know that Peter Sharp's going to be outside the Perth Library at 6:15 or something?
No, it's a random pop-up. So nobody knows it's going to happen. They will generally go where they know there's people, obviously. And literally, if you see the video of this, it's like a Mardi Gras float, basically. It's kind of kicking off, and everyone's just following along. And
nice.
Yeah, very cool.
Okay, now, what are you curious about right now, or what big question are you wrestling with?
Well, having the breadth of my event experiences through Burning Man and the sober events and the wellness community, and kind of I've seen what magic has been created. I wonder how that could be translated to company events. And that's an interesting one because every company has its own culture, right? But I'm kind of fascinated to discover the openness and the opportunity to deliver more immersive experiences where everyone's involved in the action and not sitting and just listening to presentations and of course where alcohol is generally the social lubricant, right? And I've once again seen just how vibe of a party can be without. Not saying that we would do no alcohol company events. I can't imagine that may be possible, but low alcohol. So I'm intrigued to sort of find out, what interest there is.
Have you had any events so far, Jasper, that have been along those lines where you've said, look, let's make this a low alcohol event, let's go a different direction, and you've had people sort of quite open or receptive to that? Has been some sort of early kind of indications of how it might go?
Well, look, there's a demographic change in organizations with the younger generations not drinking alcohol, and obviously it reduces risk. So there's definitely an openness to it. It's just a question of how we really execute that. But I think the other great opportunity is there's just so many great alcohol-free drink opportunities in terms of cocktails, beers, wines. I absolutely love them. And typically what you get in bars is a great alcohol range, and then you get Coke and maybe heaps normal. But what if you could have an equally amazing range of alcohol-free cocktails and beers, a choice of beers? And I think it's all about options. And so I think it's very feasible. I think that would be attractive to most organizations, I would say.
Yeah.
I think the point is...
Yeah, my Instagram feed is full of non-alcoholic drinks. I'm not sure if they've jammed me as, hey, probably needs to take a good look at himself, middle-aged, on the decline. That and hair transplants and weight loss. They're my three things I get.
It's probably your phone listening to you, Simon. You've been talking to Sally going, I've really got to... I've got to stop going out the weekends like this. And it's listened to you and it said, right, I know what to present him.
But have you tried alcohol-free Guinness?
I haven't, no.
Yes, I have. And that is one of the best, actually, I have to say. I think that's been the general consensus is you have a lovely pint of Guinness. Yeah. No, I've really enjoyed the 0.0 Guinness ones that I've had a few times. Yeah.
There's actually lots of great options, but you never find them in bars. And that's kind of something that I wanted to switch up and provide that the choice and variety and all the flavors of beer, alcohol-free.
Yeah. It's kind of like when it went from in restaurants where the vegetarian option was potatoes, and now it's a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's now a little bit more elaborate. Anyway, how would you describe what you do then, Jasper? I mean, we've heard in the intro and you've touched on a few things, but if there were intersections, as it were, if there were a little Venn diagram, what would it look like? How would you describe it to people
at
this party?
Yeah, look, no, I think, my passion and purpose is really grounded in bringing people together and in creating a safe, inclusive environment for people to express themselves. And I think the one thing I love is, and I certainly experienced this with the sober dance parties, was just the level of joy and self-expression, that sort of collective joy that absolutely can happen with alcohol and drugs, and it does. But it's whatever the level of alcohol and drugs involved, that collective joy, that self-expression, and dancing. I have to say, I love to dance. Everyone thinks I should be, think I'm a DJ because I'm a party organizer, but I'm the dancer, and that's kind of why I'm good at organizing parties, because I know how to brief DJs and find the right DJs to play good dance music.
Ah, yeah, I was going to say, I mean, you look like a DJ. You definitely look like you could do a Fatboy Slim.
I think a bit younger than...
Yeah, oh yeah.
This great haired man here. No, I bet you won't believe it. Like, I'm in all my parties, there's always a theme and a storyline, and I was the protagonist. So I was the ringmaster, the space pirate captain, and I'm always in costume. And I'm always the one who's giving permission for others to fully let go by being the wildest person.
And do you think, I'm a firm believer that, dress up parties, more fun parties, because you liberate yourself, or everyone's like, oh, what have you got? So what's your thinking behind that? Because you've dived into a little bit more, and your dress up parties, amazing. Yeah.
It's years ago when I was telling people about my sober dance parties. Now there's a growing market for it. People just couldn't get their head around it. And the secret sauce that made it so successful was the costuming, and it kind of plays a similar role to alcohol in the sense that you can't really judge anyone. It's just like an ice-breaking conversation, and it gives people permission to play. And when you're dressed up, you are fundamentally another character, and it's just amazing the power of that, and especially when you create a themed experience where you're a character within this other world, and it's magic. It really is. There's just nothing else like it. And to take costumes away, I'm like, oh my God, now it feels awkward.
Bump into each other at the coffee shop. You're like, oh, don't know what to say now that you're...
Last time I saw him, he was with a toga and a feather boa. I can't possibly talk to him. I didn't recognise you without the toga on. Jasper, we want to talk a little bit more about the work you do and maybe some of the journey towards where you find yourself now. I mean, I know that you joined Google in 2007, and that as the sort of digital world was exploding, moving from physical to being more screen saturated more generally as a society. I mean, what's shifted the thinking in how we meet and connect, or how has that shifted the thinking? What's changed? And what do we lose as we went online?
Well, it's been crazy being part of that journey. Like, the iPhone came out when I started at Google. I think I logged into Facebook for the first time back in 2007. And it's kind of really sad to see the impact technology, smartphones and screens has had on society. And it's absolutely a double-edged sword. I mean, I remember the excitement, right, of social media. It was, you keep up to date with your friends and family, and it felt like you were connecting, right? But it's ultimately become a platform that I think has more negative impact than the positive, if I'm being completely honest. And, there's been a growing mental health crisis, issues around loneliness, and particularly with younger generations coming up through who've grown up with screens. For any parent, it's challenging, right? I can only imagine how do you bring kids up and help navigate this double-edged sword? Because it could bring lots of joy in certain ways, but it's a really interesting one, and it's enabled remote work. It's enabled lots of great things, but on the flip side, we're not connecting as often. And the one thing I reflect on, like before smartphones, you're going down the pub, you're going out in your local town, who you see is who you see. Whereas now young people are on their phones and they're seeing the most beautiful people in the world that are optimized to engage with. And it's obviously that comparison, right? Straight off the bat. So I think psychologically it's had a real negative impact, as much as obviously technology is incredible at moving us forward in all sorts of ways. But yeah, I mean, what has changed? It's And COVID obviously was another big impact, I think, in terms of training us to stay at home and show that we could be self-sufficient at home. And so it's really just had a massive impact on society, I think. And obviously when you walk around, at the bus stop, everyone's literally head down, which is that one less opportunity to connect with anyone.
Just as you said that, Jasper, it was bringing me back to what you said originally when I said, what is it you do? And you said three things. It was about bringing people together so they connect. It was about people finding a safe space to express themselves and people being able to be expressive, self-expression. And you kind of go, yeah, this social media works against all of that, doesn't it? People don't self-express, they curate, so they don't show their real self. It hasn't been a safe space to gather. It's become this quite toxic environment. Not always, but predominantly that's been the worry, is how it's just become this sort of toxic place where people don't feel safe to express views, and it clearly doesn't make people connect. So as a tool for what you want to do, you kind of look at it and go, it's not going to work the same way at all, is it? Is that why you've gravitated then to the physical gathering? Is that then almost a pushback to what you've seen?
It was, I have to say, discovering Burning Man, and I say this co-created community where it may exist, was really changed my life. It was the vehicle for me to discover myself and find my confidence and my voice. And you wouldn't believe it, but I actually grew up with a stutter.
No, we wouldn't believe it. No. So, yeah.
No, exactly. No. So, but my point is, it was through a real community where I felt like I could belong and I could express myself and there's no judgment, where I really found myself. So, yeah, in the context of that opportunity versus where a lot of young people have social anxiety and there's a lack of communities for belonging, and what I'm excited to see is the younger generations creating these opportunities, and there's run clubs, there's a lot of wellness and exercise orientated activities for people to connect. And I think that the big drivers with the sober dance parties was obviously falling to that sort of party scene and festival scene kind of late in my life, mid-30s, was just seeing the overconsumption of alcohol and drugs, and just seeing how that had, obviously a negative impact on mental health, and addiction being a big issue, and kind of going my own journey to stop any alcohol and drugs, and discovering kind of the natural high available through dance and the benefits of dance was kind of what was the real catalyst behind my sober dance parties, and kind of seeing that need for a safe, inclusive environment where people can express themselves. But yeah, it really was that purpose that drove me, was to create a space where anyone can, kind of like Burning Man, but just, I guess the alcohol and drugs I did see have a negative impact. And I'm speaking generally about festivals here, not specific to Burning Man.
I want to jump in there because I really like some of these things you're saying around belonging, being part of your tribe, no judgment, and creating those safe spaces where your inner child could come out to play. And I know that was a huge part of the drug-free ecstatic events you put on, celebrating inclusion, connection, and self-expression. Now, that doesn't happen just by you saying it, because all corporations say, blah, 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 we do this, we do that. And what we hear every week, they do the actual opposite. So how did you make that happen, given that as a rule, we're quite repressed? So what was part of how did you walk the talk? What happened? Yeah. Where do you want to jump into that?
Well, I have to admit, I was quite prolific on social media over this time, in costumes and kind of leading and inspiring with the purpose, the mission and the values of why we're doing this. It's the power of purpose. And I brought a community and I attracted people through that. And the great thing about my events is, these are high production, epic parties themed with costuming, no drugs and alcohol, but it attracts everyone who loves to dance, and it attracts people who like to dress up. But when people see that you naturally attract the right people. And the theming was obviously a big part of this in terms of inspiring costuming and creating a storyline, and I was really passionate about creating that kind of like immersive experience from the moment you walk in throughout the whole night. It's kind of curated to bring a story to life, and everyone gets to play their part in that storyline. And so it's quite naturally, it just erupts into a high energy dance floor. And as I say, the interesting thing with alcohol and dance floors is that everyone's always typically waiting to get drunk. There's
Yeah,
that
yeah,
waiting period
Yeah,
where everyone's
yeah,
kind of like, who's going to be
yeah.
the first, who's
yeah.
going to be the first to dance? Like that, particularly awkward, and everyone's just trying to get a few drinks in them. At my parties, the dance floor just starts, and then you kind of feel more left
Yeah.
field if you're not dancing, and the focus was
And
the
was there
dance floor, not
something
the
there
bar.
though? Let's say I'm just curious again because I like you. I think part of you almost feels quite simple what you've done, but is there more to it? Like when people arrive, like that. You spoke about the greeting, like how you make someone. Let's say someone who's rocked up, they don't know anyone per se, but they go, "This looks pretty cool." What's that process where they come to an event and they feel welcome all of a sudden, or how did you? Yeah, was there something in that space where?
Yeah, well, and a lot of this is inspiration from Burning Man, because when you enter the burn,
Okay.
it's all about the welcome experience. You get people in costume giving you a hug. There's some sort of interactive experience typically, and I think that's that first point of contact, and it's like just giving people a hug was always super powerful. And with people in costume kind of setting the scene, and then typically what we would have is some kind of facilitator, dance facilitator. So someone who's kind of leading the way, and that's what kind of gets the dance floor moving. Yeah, and facilitators are a really important part of this, because they're the ones who are because people just need that permission, right? They need someone to follow, and then there's kind of it's elements of surprise. It's kind of just I try to think, when I did the circus party, we had this theatrical storyline piece around the Lion King, and a meaningful storyline that was enacted through performers and a collection of dancers that erupted into kind of kicking off the dance floor. And so this is kind of lengths we'll go to.
Yeah, no,
to
this
set
is
the scene.
good.
It
This
was
is
like
great. Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to attending one of your
Yeah.
first big corporate events,
Yeah,
Jasper.
I know.
And I come along where the
Well,
CEO's dressed up in a crazy chicken outfit, gives everyone a hug, and everyone's going, what the hell? I did a serious question underneath this, because it is interesting, isn't it? If you think to the corporate world, any event of any description, even meetings, isn't it? It's that first point of contact, the welcome, as people come into a room or place or whatever, the facilitator playing the role to kind of, as it were, set the scene and draw people in. Is there anything, and there must be there's often things that need to happen before people get to the event. It sounds like that. Does that happen through social media? The preparation almost, that people might go, what am I going to walk into? And so when they get there, they go, oh yeah, this is kind of what I expected. No, not completely. They'll still be going, wow, this is bigger than I expected. But is there something that needs to happen for people before they arrive?
that theming and storytelling starts from the get-go. And
Okay.
there's kind of almost like this release of the theme and some illustration of what the party is going to be. And then I'll always was stepping up into character and kind of being a protagonist to engage people and tell that story. So I was setting that scene essentially. And then through the lead up to an event, and this is the art of selling tickets to an event, by the way, is obviously releasing artists and kind of building that, so people have an idea, and then you're building that picture leading up to the event, building that excitement. Bit of costume inspiration. 'Cause
Always,
you've got to think
yeah.
about your costumes, right? So there's kind of this excitement that builds the lead up, and for me, the beauty was pulling all that together for someone. And and I often have guys coming up to the end of the night going, "Oh my God, thank you so much. I just had the best night. I was so nervous. I almost had a drink before I came in, but I'm so glad I didn't." And that is the experience I aim to deliver for people, is that how high you can get naturally. Like if people are trying to get high and let loose, but when people experience that for the first time and they're in that high vibe dance floor, and I've been in the highest energy dance floor at my circus party, I have to say, like it was. I'm not the event organizer who's on the side making sure it runs smoothly. I'm in the melee with typically some dance stick, and it funny actually goes. This actually goes back to a childhood trauma story, which is kind of somewhat ironic. Is that in my first week at school in Scotland, I was in the playground and I found a big laundry stick, and picked it up and was chasing kids around the playground with it. Anyway, I was told off. Actually sent to the headmistress. And I had the very scary Scottish headmistress, as you can imagine, with the Scottish accent, telling me off. And that's, I peed my pants. I was so scared. And I was told off for playing. And the stick thing just came to me late in the piece, was I always have some sort of diff stick I'm waving around. I'm like literally just giving permission to people to play with a stick. And I was like, God, is that the stick that I was and it's kind of been a funny piece to reflect on. Is I kind of feel like I'm creating adult playgrounds where, nobody can tell me off for obviously.
Yeah, I love hearing all these themes. So I love it keeps coming through, giving people permission, which is a big thing. There's a storyline running through. You're connected to your purpose, mission, and values. So you run events where people choose to be there in these extraordinary settings, and you can see your joy coming from that. Now, John and I and yourself as well also work in corporate events where it's the opposite. This is in the diary. You need to be there. And this is why I'm so interested in having you on, just around that. How do we bring what can intentional gathering teach the world of work events where it's often one way info, presentation heavy? Yeah, what's 2 or 3 principles that we could take out of there, big, small, medium, otherwise? And I think you've shared some, but there's so much good here. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? It should be the foundations of every organization to have a meaningful purpose and have values and a great culture around why they come to work. But that's not always the case, you see. So, I think it does depend on the business and its culture, to what extent where that challenge lies. But I do believe purpose should be the foundational piece of any event. And it's often an afterthought, I have to say. And even if you're an organization where there isn't a clear purpose, people are not engaged with the values, what a wonderful opportunity to co-create that purpose through engaging with your staff and your people. So I think, purpose is really foundational in terms of engagement, and it unifies people. It's that cross-functional engagement piece, right, that they're looking for. So that's, I think, a sort of a key piece. And I think it's about participation. And that's what I reflect on. Like, why is Burning Man? Why is that so awesome when you kind of get into this flow state? And is that you're always actively involved. You're participating. You're co-creating that experience. And I think there are other great principles to bring to a company event. It's like those principles being key. How do we do it? How can we perhaps do that in line with the purpose in terms of co-creating it or activating it? But I think those things are key. And then the glue that can bring people together is their passions. People don't often talk about their passions at work. But what if you get that output from every staff member? And then, hey, all the cyclists, you can go and organize a ride. The cooks, you can have a cooking experience. Everyone go and share their passion with people from different parts of the business. And then you come back together and you share about how great that experience was. And, well, what's your passion? Great leading question, right?
I have to say, I've got a wry smile. It reminds me of a project with a law firm many, many years ago. And we introduced the idea and said, look, at some point, as you're having these conversations, you need to discuss people's passions. And all of these lawyers kind of sort of, can we call it interests instead?
Well,
I think we had to settle for interests.
Well, I think this is where the interesting challenge is. It depends on the culture of the business, right? And you can't take. Yeah. There's only so far you can take a business. You're not, you got to push the boundaries, but it's a question of where they are and where we think we can get them to. And obviously, your approach is adapted. But I think all those.
And with that idea of connection, because I think going back to like you're speaking around with the digital age, and connection is different, and then every organization I speak to pre-COVID, they all did a lot more socializing. Post-COVID, Friday afternoon, catch-up drinks, all that sort of stuff doesn't really exist. People don't go to work on Friday. So that social element has dropped off the face of the organization. So do we need to reimagine what connection is at these events? Is it a new type of connection? What does it look like post-COVID, and how can we spontaneously create it? I don't even know if that's the right question. I'm just sort of interested in what that looks like.
Yeah, no. It's a really interesting time to having the discussion around company events, because fundamentally people are working from home. So you're not having that water cooler conversation. People are not going out after work typically. And I think the younger generations particularly just want to go home. They just want to get out of there. So that's a generational change coming through as well. So I think this really does present a real challenge around how do you connect your people? How do you build culture? And I feel like setting is so important for this. You're taking them, off sites, anywhere not in the office. But I feel like that's really important. And I think having morning, daytime experiences, which doesn't encroach on people's lives, and something that, as I say, that involves people, where they can participate, where they can co-create something, they can be involved out of the usual work settings. And as I say, I think, in terms of connecting people across the organization, which is particularly powerful around building culture, I think that's a wonderful opportunity.
All right, Jasper, it's time for a thought experiment. And look, as you may know, philosophers over the many hundreds of years have been doing thought experiments to stretch their thinking, open up new lines of inquiry, sit in the middle of those what-if questions and just ponder about the meaning of life and what we're on the planet for as well. Now, we have a thought experiment. People often call our thought experiments poor versions of 1970s game shows, which we find quite offensive. But this thought experiment is called Jasper Vallance Event Detective. Now, this is based off Ace Ventura Pet Detective. And so what we're going to do is use your event detective skills. We're going to give you some clues to a festival that didn't go as well or a gathering as you would have, the organizers would have thought. When you think you've guessed what it is, you let us know. And then we're looking for where's the point where you would have raised the white flag or the red flag and said there's something wrong here. Does that sound about right, John, or not?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I go for that. Let's kick it off and see how we go. So, give the first clue.
A luxury music festival on a private island was promoted through a 60-second Instagram video featuring supermodels, a private jet, and the phrase, the cultural experience of the decade. Tickets range from $1,500 to $250,000. They sold out. Upon arrival...
Any thoughts, Jasper? 2 clues in?
You didn't have to give me the clues, to be honest. I think everyone would have gone, well, it's got to be Fire Festival, right? Because it's got, what an incredible documentary that is. I mean, as an event organizer, it's just unbelievable. And
it is watched through your fingers, isn't it? It's as you're seeing it unfold.
That's probably the most, so a few other pieces for that. So they discovered their luxury villas were disaster relief tents left over. Luggage was offloaded on the tarmac, left in the rain, no flights out of there. The gourmet dining experience turned out to be a slice of cheese between 2 pieces of bread in one of those plastic sort of boxes, which went worldwide. The organisers raised $26 million, spent most of it on the Instagram campaign, and was sentenced to 6 years in prison. So you did very well on the event detective.
Yeah.
Where would you have jumped in to save this? Yeah.
Well, kind of any event, really, apart from having a theme and a vision, is and ideally a purpose, is a venue.
Okay, yeah. All right. Very early on, venue. Well done. Yeah. Event detective.
Yeah.
You're good. Check out the brain on Brett. Yeah. I just watched Pulp Fiction again the other day, so it's back in my lexicon. All right, John, let's do our next one, and then we probably do the last one. Yeah.
Okay, so this is, again, another infamous event, which was constituted of a series of gatherings held at one of the most famous addresses in the world during a period when the host government had legally banned gatherings of more than 6 people. An email was sent to staff inviting them to bring your own booze and to make the most of the lovely weather. Any thoughts, Jasper?
I'll
keep going.
Are these clues?
Yeah.
These
are clues.
These are clues,
oh,
yeah.
God.
These are clues. Yeah. I'll give you the next one. A wine fridge was installed in a basement room specifically for the purpose of this event. Cleaners arrived the following morning to find wine bottles behind photocopiers, furniture rearranged, and general chaos.
Was this like Simon's agency staff party?
No.
This is his Christmas gathering.
Mine are way worse than this.
One gathering was held the night before a state funeral, at which the public had been asked to observe restrictions. So they couldn't even turn up to this funeral. Yeah. It was in the UK.
It was number 10.
Yes.
Yay!
Oh my God! Thank you. Wow.
Partygate. Partygate. Yeah.
Yes.
Infamous Partygate.
A lock-in. There was a lock-in.
It was effectively a lock-in. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Well, when asked, the host, let's shout out loud now, that was Mr. Johnson, stated that he had not known they were parties. So he didn't term it as party. I don't know what he called it. He might have called it a gathering or a work do, wasn't it, or something? But 126 fixed penalty notices eventually issued, and one of them went to Boris, Mr. Johnson. There we go.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, that was a stressful event.
At least there was accountability.
Okay. Now, as event detective, where would you have jumped in?
Well, I mean, I guess if it's the Prime Minister leading the charge, that's a tough one, right? Like, how do you? Oh God, you can only imagine, like this kicking off, can't you, with Boris? And he would have popped open the wine, and then you're like, and at which point does it become a party? I guess as soon as there was too many people in the room, constitute a party.
Boris was a version of you at your alcohol-free parties. He was like leading the way. He was like hey, make everyone feel welcome, but with mellifluous intent. Yeah.
Giving everyone a hug.
All right, our next one. Yeah. Okay, let's say it's a corporate event. Yeah, a startup valued at $47 billion at the time flew 8,000 employees and their families to a country estate in Kent for a 3-day summer camp, headlined by the New Zealand singer Lorde. Alcohol was free, unlimited, and available from 6 a.m. An executive was observed shotgunning a beer as the sun came up. A water slide was constructed for the occasion. It sent several people to hospital. The founder ordered 12 cases of Don Julio 1942 tequila for personal use, along with 216 bottles of beer and 2 bottles of 30-year-old single malt scotch. After consuming these, as the story goes, he then took to the stage, walked into the crowd and asked employees about their deepest fears in what was described by witnesses as a corporate sermon. Okay.
Any guesses, Jasper?
I'm bemused that this even happened. This one sounds fictional to me.
This is true. His wife then addressed the assembled staff and explained that a big part of being a woman is to help men like her husband manifest their calling in life. Attendees reported people openly taking substances while watching the headline act and behaviour in the tents that left very little to the imagination. Now, this might give it to you. At the time, the company was losing $1.40 for every dollar it made. 18 months later, their IPO had collapsed. The founder was gone, and the valuation had dropped from $47 billion to $2.9 billion.
Wow.
Is this some crypto
business?
I have no idea.
It starts with Yes, WeWork, yes.
WeWork.
WeWork did that? The founder? What the fuck?
What I love about that is the clue where you go, 12 cases of Don Julio 1940 tequila for his personal use.
I didn't see that the first.
I mean, look, it's a great example of what can go wrong, right? When and let's be honest, this is what I've seen. The difference between environments with alcohol and ones without is that you take out the alcohol, the risk just goes down substantially. And I remember my Alice in Wonderland party at Sydney Town Hall. We had kind of everyone up on stage around the DJ dancing, and my stage manager is going, "No, you've got to get them off stage. It's not safe. It's not safe. You never allow people up on the stage." But I kind of knew it was, and kind of got away with it. But yeah, it certainly reduces risk not having booze.
Would you as event detective, Jasper, where again would you have jumped in? Where do you think you would have had alarm bells going off? Was it the order of Don Julio?
Alcohol available from 6 a.m. I'm like, seriously? That's just like all day, all night, all day. Like that's encouraging. The party never ends.
I mean, the only other time you do that is at an airport, isn't it?
Oh, dear me.
Should we do one more?
Do one more.
Shall I do this last one?
Next one.
Okay. So this final one, again, may be familiar because I think it's something that's been shown on Netflix or whatever. It was a 3-day festival staged to celebrate the 30th anniversary of 3 days of peace and music. And this time it was on a decommissioned US Air Force base in a July heatwave. Water was sold at $4 a bottle. The ATMs ran out of cash. The wooden walkways were eventually ripped up and used as firewood. A new metal band played a song called Break Stuff and invited the crowd to act accordingly. They did.
Now, just see the bit I've highlighted, John. Read that as well. Yeah.
Okay. an anti-gun group set up a candlelit peace vigil to honour the victims of an unfortunate event and usher in a new era of peace. The candles were used as kindling by audience members to set fire to the venue, and the fires were visible for miles. Any thought? The event is now a Netflix documentary, a masterclass in how not to gather 200,000 people together.
I know.
And,
yeah, I mean, I saw this doco myself, and that was another one of just what can go wrong at a festival. But I actually can't. The name is escaping me.
Very
of
famous
the
1960s festival where Jimi Hendrix played, and this was the 30-year version of that.
Oh, yeah. It's wood.
They set fire to
wood.
Woodstock. Woodstock. Sorry. I had a mental blank. I was like, I knew it. I was like,
anything starting with W.
Well, they did.
We work.
What another incredible story, though, isn't it? I mean, it's God. They really do make the best Netflix documentaries because they're just.
All right. So, Event Detective. Yeah. This is curious. Now, let's say what was wrong with this event? So, 1,000 guards for almost 250,000 people. Like, what Event Detective? What would you have jumped in around purpose or? So I'm curious because this is a
good purpose. Oh God! Well, look. Let's be honest. Like, if you are trying to recreate Woodstock, there's got to be some sort of values and purpose around what made that so special in the first place that you will try and replicate. And clearly, that wasn't in existence. So, in other words, it wouldn't have happened in the way it did in any kind of form. I would say it's like if you're going to rip off the name, at least try and replicate the vibe and obviously safety is a big thing, right? With events that can, in terms of number of people and the space for people and obviously hydration. Yeah, all massive, big mistakes.
All right. Well, that thought experiment was Jasper Vallance, Event Detective. One of our best, John, I think. Would you say?
Jasper, let's conclude with some personal questions. Rapid fire again. What's one thing you couldn't do without in your life right now at the moment?
Yeah, my bikes, I think it's fair to say. Like, it's kind of my mental health medicine, I have to say. Like, it's, as an ADHD, starting my day with a hit of dopamine, and a coffee. Like, I can't imagine living without that. God, what I have to do? Start running or something?
Yeah.
Is dopamine, Jasper, is that allowed at your no drugs festival?
Well, it was quite actually advertised. It was no. So it was all. It was outly communicated. It's all about getting the natural high, and that is this beautiful chemical mix of oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, and what is one more? But the point is that and that's what I actually went through depression, and that took me to the Bali Spirit Festival, which is where to reconnect with myself. And that's where I danced for hours on these sober dance floors. And I just couldn't believe how high I was getting. I was like, wow, I just didn't realize this was possible. And by the end of that week, the depression was gone. And this is we have everything we need inside of us. And that's, I think, the beautiful thing there. And that's why I can really connect to my purpose, delivering those experiences for people to have that experience and be reminded that you don't need to depend on alcohol and drugs to have a good time.
And one of our previous guests, like way back, guest 2, I think, or 3 or something, Dr. Peter Lovatt's a dance psychologist. And he talks exactly this, the power of dancing, the power of movement. And just, he says, dance first, think later. It's the natural order. And just all the chemicals and all the things you've spoken about. And he's a great episode. So back maybe episode 4 or 5. Yeah.
You know what? Individually, that's a thing, but collectively, when everyone's on that natural high, and that's what was so special about my sober dance parties is that's you're feeling that energy is just incredible, and it's the opposite of what people imagine. People imagine a sober dance party to be boring, awkward, and it was just one of the best parties I've ever been in.
Yeah, I love hearing this. Yeah. Now, we are building the Occupational Philosophers Manifesto, if you see what we've done there, Manifesto. What one thing of all your learning do you think should be included?
Discover your true self and step up to your purpose.
Very good. What book should we be reading right now, Jasper? Or it could be a film or something that you think is unmissable or a must read?
I don't read anymore.
That's that one then.
Good question.
I just dance all the time. I can't get down off this podium. Leave me alone.
Honestly,
Dancing and reading is impossible at the same time.
yeah. Well, exactly. But it's honestly, I don't have a smart answer to that. I listen to podcasts a lot of the time and get a lot of inspiration through that. And
Okay.
I ask AI everything, just,
Okay.
we don't need books.
Any movies or shows you're watching that you think we should tune into?
Oh, God, I tell you what I'm really enjoying is kind of YouTube, and there's just some amazing live DJ sets in amazing locations. And like there's this production called Circle. And yeah, I just love that combination of music and nature. And I think that's kind of, something, if you're going to watch something and enjoy an incredible naturescape and music, that's my kind of entertainment.
I know what you're talking about. Have you seen that couple and they go around and DJ and cook everywhere? And they just cook in silence. And they're always in some beautiful spot in the back of their van or something. Yeah, this is really cool.
Adding cooking to the mix. No,
yeah.
I do love food.
I'll add it to the show notes. Now, let's imagine many, many, many years from now, you've decided it's time to move to a retirement home. You're taken in there by sort of one of the nurses or something into the dining room. Everyone turns around. How would you like to be introduced? They go, here's Jasper. He's
a mad dancer.
Okay. You could say nothing else, really, could you? Yeah.
And I'll be like, let's get the music on. I'll be waving my stick in the air.
Yeah.
I must say.
It'll just be a walking stick. This probably.
Okay.
Or a Zimmer frame, maybe. I'll be like, giving permission.
I was thinking he hasn't hung up his glow sticks yet.
Yeah. Now, okay, so just moving on from that, what are you up to next? What projects you got on at the moment? What's exciting, work, party, dance sort of space?
Well, yeah, so, the reincarnation of Burning Seed is very exciting. That's happening next weekend. And I know the venue has space for up to 10,000 people. And when I discovered Burning Seed, it was 400 people. It grew to 5,000. It was incredible to see just a burn grow. And as much as it is amazing to go to the Nevada desert with 80,000 people, but to be part of that community and see that grow. So that's really exciting for me. And obviously with Immersive 8, aiming to transform company events with purpose, wellness, and high vibe participatory experiences. And that's what I'm looking forward to talking to heads of people and CEOs around their event strategy, around people and culture and purpose.
And I love that word wellness put in there as well, because I guess if one thing, everyone's fried, aren't they? Like the ability to have that day and actually feel better when you leave because you're working your ass off to get there and have that day in the first place. I love that. Yeah.
Well, it will take days to recover from those Google parties. You've got jet lag as well. You've flown around the world. You've been drinking for a few nights, and then Google probably won't like me saying that.
That's all right. Okay. The old days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where can we find you, Jasper? Online? How do we connect with you?
Well, I thought I was completely unique, but apparently there's a window dress with my name. So,
nice curved corner. Yeah.
Otherwise, very easy to find. Just get Jasper Vallance, and that will take you to all my social channels. And there's a website, and immersive8.agency is our agency website if you want to learn more about our offering there. And yeah, I think that's about it. That's
all right.
Excellent.
Easily
Thank
found.
you very much. Thank you for joining us, Jasper. It's been great. Really enjoyed that. It definitely opened my eyes to this whole thing of how things can be very, very different in that event space. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to a burn in the UK, because at the moment, all we have is inappropriate sunburn is about the only thing we get in the UK. So...
Well, you'll have to check out Nowhere in Spain. It was actually set up by people from London. It was the Brits going, where's the desert in Europe? And Spain was the obvious choice. So, yeah, it sounds like a very Spanish-British, European affair there.
Fab. I will check
it
out.
Thanks so much for joining us. And, yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Another wonderful chat there, Simon. What did you take away from that?
Oh, many things. I've been really keen. We bumped into each other in an event I put on with someone else, actually. And he was there in his Lycra on the way home. So I thought, this guy's a cool cat, because he's riding his bike. And yeah, so I've really been interested around this sort of art of gathering. I know there's the Priya Parker book and different things, which are very popular. But I think so much of the stuff we talk around, curiosity, creativity, big discussions, they happen with people, don't they? They're not always a solo affair. So I really like that idea of, and it comes through pretty much every show, a safe place to express yourself and play. So give yourself permission to play. So create an environment where it's not judging and people can be the best version of themselves. Look, you don't even have to bring your whole version to work, because you might be sort of person who picks their toenails at the dinner table or something. But even just, look, you're not a robot. Nobody's a robot. So I think that there. And I really like the idea of how do we welcome people in. And that event that I met Jasper at, and one of my reasons for being involved, I said, if we do this evening thing, I want to create a space where you can rock up. And if you don't know anyone, you feel welcome. You know what I mean? Because sometimes I go to these events, I think, oh God, I can't, there's so many closed groups. I can't crack a conversation here anywhere. So I think that welcome is important.
And it's interesting, again, as you were saying that, it made me think of team events or even meetings or workshops or whatever it is where people gather. We have that clunky idea of the icebreaker, and you go, no, look, put the icebreaker to one side. How do you make people feel welcome and potentially connected? Icebreaker feels a bit contrived at times and it gets a bad press. Clearly, if you have the right intention or purpose in mind to make people feel welcome and connect, then it can go well. But I think, dispensing with the idea of icebreakers in that kind of very technical sense and just go, how are we going to make people feel welcome and connected when they come in the door?
And if you're
that's a different approach.
If you're a conference organizer, never put icebreaker on the agenda because people freak the hell out.
They literally freeze.
They it's the worst thing
Fight,
you can ever
flight, or freeze. Icebreaker.
And I think also something that came through around the story keeps running through that story and purpose. So what's the story? Start with your purpose. Again, like, it was a really good, like, what are we actually here to do? Because you think we have meetings all day and everyone absolutely hates them with a passion. Well, what are we actually here to do? Like, we've got it all here in the room. Like, what are we actually here to do? And that drives everything. So even just from a logic point of view, take out the woo-woo sort of, what's my purpose and my higher connection, all that type of stuff. Just what are we actually here to do? How does this align with other things we're doing? And you can start there, and then you can start to say, well, what's the story we want to put around this so people go, oh, I know what's going on. I'm going to run in a good space. And so some really nice pieces to be a bit more Burning Man inside the organization. Yeah.
I mean, let's be clear here. You're going to have to meet people where they're at. There's going to be the usual skepticism within organizations potentially.
But isn't that it though, what we're trying to talk about, like actually going, okay, we want to create a space where you feel good rocking up, and that is big skeptic, I haven't smiled since 1985, arsehole, I'm not going to do it at this event, all that type of stuff. I've seen this shit before, all those biases that come into the room. So understand that, but how do you tell people, this is what we're here to do, here's how we're going to give you a chance to engage with other people in a way you feel comfortable. So you leave that event going, hey, and that takes a million different forms depending on your culture, but that ability to meet people where they're at, exactly what you said, but hit it with a few more different things around how can we involve people in creating something that you'd maybe like to do on the weekend in your spare time as well, I guess. So,
and read the room, somebody might not want a hug, so just give them a fist bump.
Yeah, your point's solid, John. I want to acknowledge that. And to everyone who's ever organised a meeting with a bunch of skeptics in the room, and they're skeptics because what's preceded them hasn't been ideal.
Yeah, I think everything Jasper said, for me, it really hit home. And I liked, for me, that just the beginnings where he said the intersections were bringing people together so they connect, having a safe space to express themselves, and one where they can feel free to express themselves, self-expression. Yeah. And I think if that's at the heart of it, then you go, how do we make that happen? Well, then that could take you in any different number of directions.
Yeah, and I think also that piece around
principles of sound.
Tying in wellness, like how do you make people, I'll say wellness, how do you make people feel well after they've been there? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't need to be a smoothie or something or a green juice. Yeah.
Well, that's it. You could end up like the Fire Festival, can't you? And this is the wellness booth. What's that? Oh, it's a smoothie over there. and there's a heat lamp that you could stand under for 2 minutes. Oh, thanks. Now back to work.
Too kind. Right.
My only worry is that's the thing is, but make sure clearly that carries through into the day-to-day. As they say, you can't talk your way out of a situation you've behaved your way into, as we used to say back in the day, which was that
Wise
you can't
sage.
expect a one-off thing.
Yeah.
A one-off thing to counter a culture which is not practicing wellness or thinking about people's well-being. You've got to have it run through day to day. There we go. Yes, deep and meaningful.
All right. We'll use that as a little philosophical mic drop. So, John.
There we go.
Yeah,
we got the word philosophical into the mix. There we go.
First
we
time
could
today.
stand by our occupational philosophers title.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap this up. So if you've enjoyed the show, hit the little subscribe button in the top of the screen so you're notified when they come through. Tell your friends. Also, which I know is really hard to do, give a rating, leave a review. But look, they do come through and we do appreciate it. It's good for the algorithms, so more people get to the show.
And also check out the website, occupationalphilosophers.com. Feel free to get in touch if you've got an idea on guests or topics. There's also a relatively new Substack that you can check out, Occupational Philosophers Substack. And that's got some nice summaries, one-pagers, questions to ponder, key thoughts that come through from some of our guests' episodes. There's some already up there and there's more to follow. So feel free to subscribe because that is free. And that gives you some extra content to potentially use with your teams in the organizations you're part of.
I think summaries is a harsh word. I think it's really good. Riffing on some of the ideas.
Humorous rift.
Yeah.
Humorous rift.
Well, I haven't read anything and I think nice summary. Okay, so in defense of John's writing. Okay, now, as we always say, stay curious, make stuff, play more, have fun. But as you leave today, you open the door, weather shines in your face. What do you do?
Date life.